Episode 205, Exercise, How to Change Your Life in 1 Year.
You're listening to the very best podcast in the world on health, wealth, and happiness. Please remember to leave a review and share with all your friends and family. And here is your host, Lars Hilser.
Another week is over. It's Exercise Friday on the very best podcast in the world, your only source in the universe for personal supremacy through health, wealth, and happiness. Praise the Lord. So, today we're going to change your life, as the title blatantly states, or at least, well, that's your part. I'm just going to give you my kind of little itty-bitty take on it, on how you stand realistic chances of making that happen with 6 pieces of advice that we're going to be going through in today's exercise. So sharpen your pencil, iron your notepad, and let's get going right after today's message from our sponsors, I was just going to say. But in fact, it's housekeeping. Nothing more boring than that. Views my own, yada, yada, yada. And sharing is caring. So if you know anyone or everyone that needs to change their life a little bit or wants to change their life and has been looking to do so for quite a while, share this episode with them. Because this podcast is purely altruistic, as we learned yesterday. There are no sign-up fees, no hidden sign-up fees, no hidden fees in the fine print or anywhere else. So it's purely free. Right? No, you don't have to download a free ebook and then sign up for courses to get more. This is, well, they're just, I don't know, business person, me being altruistic and presenting a new episode every single day. So if you are not subscribed yet, now's your chance. Do so now. There we go. Now that we have that covered. Why should you change your life in the first place? Let's go through that kind of ordeal. For me, the first moment that I don't know if I even wanted, it just came about. It was like I was many, many moons ago in a rather stale 9-to-5 life. Girlfriend, the whole job thing, 9-to-5, pretty dissatisfying. And I said, hey, I'm going to go self-employed. Relationship broke apart because her biological clock started to tick at late 20s. Mine didn't. So it was like, okay, there we go. And then things just started to deteriorate from there. And then things just started to happen. I was totally independent by then, and I just said, okay, I'm out. And then, other corporate political things started to happen. I went through the details many, many times over, listened to the past 204 episodes for details. No, please don't. Your ears are going to be bleeding by, when you make it back here. And, I then said, okay, I'm going to go self-employed. That went south, the first attempt. The second attempt rocketed to the sky. Third attempt rocketed to, and, everything is history from there. Right? And where am I going with this? I never really wanted to change my life. There were no outside influences. And again, it just happened. It was this inner feeling where I didn't even say, or there was no voice in my head. God forbid. There are many, but none that's ever said change your life. They made me change. Anyhow, you know where I'm going with this. I said, I'm going to go self-employed. And then I said, I'm going to start my second company. Then I said, I'm going to go into consulting and so on and so forth. And, if you are at that position, where you say, okay, I need to change something. It doesn't necessarily have to be your career or your job, right? As you will learn from these 6 examples, it can be a variety of other things that will just make your life, that will just improve your life, right? So let's get started. So we've got 6 examples that are we gonna run through them? I don't know. Anyhow, at the end of these 6 examples, you should have enough information at hand where you can actually turn your life around in 1 year. So let's get started. Number 1, getting rid of toxic people. Now, I like to call these people energy vampires, in that they suck your energy and it gets you nowhere, right? This is not to say that you are supposed to be a shitty friend and that you shouldn't listen to what your friends have to say if they are in a downtime. But there are those type of characters out there who are constantly having a bad time and constantly whining about anything and everybody. And these people are what are called energy vampires. They feed off of the good energy of other people, and they don't learn. They don't learn that they're, lucky to have a roof over their head, to have food on the table, to have, maybe even a job or, whatever. They are in a good situation and all they can do is whine, right? And that's very interesting. Those people are insanely interesting. They're very toxic to good-hearted people, and they can bring pretty much anyone down. So, again, you have to differentiate between a friend who's having a bad time, and you have to then make the distinction whether they're on a downward spiral and constantly complaining, or whether they're in a pretty fucked up situation because, I don't know, their spouse kind of quit on them or cheated on them or, whatever. Being a friend means being there for them. Being a friend doesn't mean that they should constantly be whining and complaining and having a problem for every solution that you offer them, right? So toxic people need to go out of your life as soon as possible. And be honest and blatant about it, because only then will they have the opportunity to improve and to clean up their act. Number 2, stay committed even when things get tough. Now, there's a famous quote out there which says, if you're going through hell, keep going, right? And I don't know who it's from, actually. I think I read that it was from Winston Churchill, who has been credited with many quotes which he never said. So I'm going to be careful on actually trying to name the author, or accurately trying to name the author. But it's very true. Had I not, been consistent and committed to the ideas of all of my, what do you want to call them? Enterprises, right? All of my endeavors. I wouldn't be where I am today. I am where I was pretty much 20 years ago, but I'm now here with all of the experiences that I made along the way, the many great cultures that I got to experience, the many, many, many awesome people I met along the way, right? And that was, what I mentioned with that girlfriend. I'm now in a situation where I'm settled and, with my better half, and it's good and it's great. But it didn't take me 20 years to figure it out. This is just a phase of my life where I can say, okay, now I've seen everything. I can settle down at peace, right? So, but that it doesn't go anywhere near the point. So, however, it does in a very weird way, in that, you stay committed to an idea that you have no matter how tough it gets. And that's what I had with my companies. When I went self-employed, I didn't really think that, it would be difficult getting clients. I had a fucking great product, right? Everybody was going to run after it. Fact of the matter was, it was totally difficult uphill battle to sell what I was offering. I was looking for the word, sorry. Computed rather slowly. And that was, a totally interesting experience because I was so convinced, and the product was great. Problem was, it was 5 years ahead of its time. And, it's difficult to sell something like that. However, I found through my network, which, established over time, the people, the visionaries that said, we got to be ahead of the game here, or ahead of the curve. I don't know, whatever the lingo is. And we have to implement this now, right? Because the idea is so great that our clients are going to benefit from it. And that's actually, those people I will be eternally grateful to, these visionaries that said, yeah, let's do this, right? We got to be ahead of the competition. We have to have this unfair share of advantage if we want to place ourselves, in front of the curve. And that's what, all of the social networks have done. Basically from my publications on the internet, so much has happened, so much been revolutionized. Right? It's influenced your life, period. And that was just because I was staying committed, despite the fact that I had debt collectors at my door saying, hey, look, you got bills to pay. I was like, yeah, sure, I'm going to pay them as soon as I get paid. That's how committed I was, bizarrely enough. But, it led me to where I am today. And that's cool, right? So, number 3, learning from your mistakes. And that's okay if you have, or that's easy. Let's put it that way. It's easy when you have, your 9 to 5 thing because, you have your routines, right? And every routine that you screw up and you can mildly adjust, and it's Groundhog Day. Tomorrow's going to be the same thing. You just wake up 5 minutes earlier. That's the kind of change, right? The kind of mistakes you make, or, you get hammered at the, on Sunday for whatever bizarre reasons, because it was happy hour and you have to binge. And then it's Monday and you're like, damn, I thought it was a weekend. And you go to the office hammered, or to your workplace, and, weird shit starts to happen. However, those are easy mistakes to fix. Now, you are, much more aware if you have a lot more responsibility attached to your, daily life, right? And I'm not talking kids and family and mortgage. I'm talking, employees that are on a payroll that you have to pay at the end of the month somehow, and you have to make those uncomfortable calls to people who owe you money and say, look, you're going to pay me now, right? Or else. I said Moscow incasso, Moscow debt collectors, whatever. And learning from your mistakes can have, different consequences. Again, it can be easy, it can be hard, but it's insanely important that you are aware that you made a mistake, even if nobody, calls you out on them. And that's, you have to be aware. You have to be aware of the present moment. You have to be aware of how people react. You have to be able to interpret body language. You have to be able to interpret gestures, on whether people frown when you say something, or, just how to behave in different kind of situations. When we make a mistake there, or talking to someone, it's like, easily adjustable mistakes that are the most difficult to fix. So now that we have that out of the way, let's get to keep expanding your skill set. Now, what example am I going to give you there? I started out, in what would be today known as in the cybersecurity world, and it had a different name back when I started out. Things happened that kind of, made me shy away from computers for a little bit, and for the involvement that I had in a lot of shit that happened. And I went into finance, got a degree there. In the meantime, I got a minor degree in electrical engineering, and, it's a jack of all trades, master of all of them to a degree. And then then I saw the future of the internet, left the finance sector altogether because it was kind of deteriorating and becoming uninteresting. Then I went into e-commerce and e-business development and those kind of things. Did a lot of good stuff there, and then I went into computer or IT security, InfoSec, whatever you want to call it again. And it's about really learning that makes your life not accelerate as quickly, right? I did a dedicated episode about that. Go back maybe 150 episodes. It was one of the earlier ones where I said that, it was when you start developing new skills, or if you go into too much of a routine, life is just going to accelerate very quickly and it's going to pass by you. It's like, oh shit, it's Christmas again. How did that happen? Where'd the last 12 months go? And that happens because your routines are on autopilot and your brain doesn't really need to compute that much. That changes when you start a new hobby, for instance, like painting or I don't know, whatever it is that you want to do. And I went into very much detail on that. On that. So I'm not going to go into too much detail now. Send me an email to the very best podcast in the world at gmail.com. If you want the reference to that episode, I'll be happy to share that with you. Keeping, not only does keep, blah. Not only does it, occupy your brain in a very positive way, that, when you broaden your skill set, but it just keeps you busy in a very positive way and you learn new stuff. And it goes along the line of the saying, use it or lose it. When you get older, you should use your body even more so that, it stays flexible and you don't get all of those symptoms of aging. But if you just ignore that and, keep busy the way that you are at the moment, then, your body doesn't deteriorate as fast. Next piece of advice, number 5, hustle in silence and let the success make the noise. When I started out, that was insanely difficult. I was so freaking proud of when I was in finance. It was like this, ooh, here's my business card. Ooh, here's my whatever. And it's not that people, or particularly friends, were annoyed by it, but looking back, it kind of makes me, I don't know, shameful is not the correct word. Embarrassed, not either, slightly touched. Could have done it better. Just shut STFU. Sorry, wasn't going to curse anymore. Won't happen again. Sorry, all of you censors out there. And it's like, be more silent about it. And, now that I'm in the position, I'll wear my track pants and my Doc Martens boots and a t-shirt with a coffee stain on it to go into a shop, which would have never, ever happened, many years ago. There was such a degree of vanity in my life that, your clothes had to be perfect and impeccable and expensive and whatever. And, I was like, okay, t-shirt is a t-shirt. That moment came later in my life when I'd already spent probably a luxury car and clothes over the course of my life, early life. And the realization was kind of hard to swallow, because, at the end of the day, you get born naked and you die naked. And, that's at the end of the day, what covers your body is just rather more functional than it is whatever it is. So, the success that makes the noise is something that you have to learn to appreciate. So it takes a while to sink in. But if you do that, if you learn that lesson very early on, don't tell people that you're doing this, that, and the other. It's number one, it's going to give you pretty stupid advice from everyone. Number two, if you are successful, it's going to have tons of people at your doorstep wanting to be a part of your success, despite the fact that they, haven't contributed anything. So, just a little piece of advice there. Last but not least, number 6, which should have been number 1, really, is to invest in yourself, right? And we already went over expanding your skill set. That's, of course, number 1, because it keeps your mind busy in a very positive way. But it's also about, investing in yourself in a sense that you take the time to prepare good food, and only food that you make yourself can be really delicious, as I learned to experience when I started cooking, because you can experiment with all of these herbs and spices and different variations of food, and, just continue to improve it until you reach this degree where you're like, oh my God, this is good. And you will rarely have that in a restaurant. I deliberately said rarely because it happens, but it's rather seldom, and it comes at a very high price tag. And it's a very interesting experience to have, that you can make even yummier food yourself if you're daring enough to experiment a lot with things that shouldn't go together necessarily. Needless to say, this also means, while we're at the physical part of your body, to keep in shape just a little bit. I'm not talking about being a marathon runner or spending 2 hours a day at the gym, because, most of us, let's, put our hands down, are not going to have the time. Right. There are things that are more important, but, having like a 10, 20-minute run around the block is enough most of the time to keep our body fit, to free our mind. Meditation plays a very important role. Now we're back into the mental, psychological side of things, psychological and physical aspects of your body should be aligned, and that's what I mean by investing in yourself, right? Investing in good produce to create great food, to feed your body good stuff, and not to poison it. That doesn't go to say that you're that you should cut out all the quote unquote bad stuff or fast food or anything. If there's a Burger King at the side of the road or a McDonald's, guess who's going to guess who's going to step on the brake, and go in for a burger or a quick burger on the drive-thru or something? No, because it's enjoyable, right? And happiness comes from just that, throwing tons of less good stuff into your body, and having your brain trigger certain chemicals that are rewarding to your body. It's just that you shouldn't get hooked on it or neglect your diet or your exercise or your mental health. So where we are back with the toxic people that we mentioned at the beginning. So let us recap and shut this thing down. Number 1, get rid of toxic people. Number 2, stay committed even when things get tough. Number 3, learn from your mistakes. Very important. Number 4, keep expanding your skill set. Number 5, hustle in silence and let the success make the noise. And last but not least, invest in yourself. Well, putting that at the end was rather interesting because I needed to elaborate a bit further. So forgive me for that. So in that sense, have a nice weekend, folks. I'm going to take the weekend to draft up or to work on probably about another 100 episodes or so, if I look at the to-do list in front of me. And we're going to be back on Monday when we're going to talk about one of the more important ones that I figure out over the weekend. So have a nice weekend, and we'll be in touch on Monday. Happy exercising with what we have learned today. Peace out. Bye, folks.